This first exercise has got two main purposes. The first one is to make sure that you understand the logic of supply and demand analysis, and you know how to shift demand and supply curves and find out the equilibrium price and quantity. But there's actually a second purpose. We'll discover that understanding arbitrage also enables us to understand some quite important things about the nature of the economy. But we'll come to that in a moment.
Let's see what the supply and demand of apples is in the south and in the north of the country. So if this is quantity and this is price, this is your supply curve and this is your demand curve for apples. So this is your equilibrium quantity of apples and this is your equilibrium price of apples. And this is to the south, and to the north there is quantity, price again, and you have a demand curve and you have a supply curve. So this is your D, this is your S supply curve, and this is your equilibrium quantity to the north, and this is your equilibrium price to the north.
So we've now established that we've got different equilibrium prices in different parts of the country for the same good. And when that exists, then there's the opportunity for profit-motivated traders to buy up the goods where the price is low, resell where the price is high, and make a profit. So now let's look at the diagram and see if we can work out the effect of arbitrage on the equilibrium price and quantity in the two markets. In the first instance, the effect of these arbitrageurs, as they're sometimes called, is felt in the south. They're buyers of apples. So to add to the plans of people to buy apples to eat, we now have to add the plans of these arbitrageurs to buy apples to sell. So the demand curve shifts to the right. We've got a bigger amount of demand. What's the effect of this? It pushes up the equilibrium price. So we now have a higher equilibrium price than we had before for apples in the south, and a bigger equilibrium quantity. But now they take these apples to the north where they intend to sell. So now, having bought in the south, they supply in the north. So to add to the plans of suppliers of apples in the north, we now have the plans to supply of these arbitrageurs. The supply curve shifts to the right. What's the effect of their behavior in the north? The equilibrium price falls. The price in the north is lower than it would be in the absence of arbitrage, and the equilibrium quantity is higher. Equilibrium quantity is higher in both markets because these apples are being traded. They're being bought in the south and resold in the north. And so the effect of arbitrage is to reduce the price differential in the two markets. So we've now seen what the effect of arbitrage is on the market for apples in both the north and the south. The effect is to reduce the price differential.
So now, the price of apples in the south is higher and the price of apples in the north is lower. But there is still a price difference, a price differential. Why is the price still different? It's because of transport and other costs. And when these transport and other costs are as big as the price differential, there will be no motive for profit-motivated traders to go on buying apples from the south and selling them to the north.
So this exercise has taught you something very important. It's helped you to manipulate supply and demand curves and see what the movement of supply and demand curves does to the equilibrium price in markets. But there's something extra that you may not have noticed that you can learn from manipulating supply and demand curves in this way in the context of arbitrage. There's a very similar process which takes place where profit-motivated traders buy up at one moment in time, transport goods across time, and sell when the price is higher at a different time of the year. So, for example, you have commodities where the harvest appears, supply is great and price is low, and then during the winter time, there's not much coming onto the market and the equilibrium price is much higher. So now we have a price differential. Doesn't exist across geographical space, it exists across time. And profit-motivated traders can buy up at the time of year when prices are low, causing prices to be higher than they otherwise would have been in their absence. And then they sell at a time of year when prices would otherwise be very high and depress the price. So the effect of this process is to reduce price differences over time. But we don't call that process arbitrage. We have another name for that. Now, do you recognize what that process is? It's possible that you haven't thought of it, but actually you know the process very well. This is speculation. That's what speculators do. The diagrams you drew exactly describe the process of speculation. The speculator buys when prices are low, holds on to the goods until prices are high, and then expects to resell at a profit. And the process of speculation reduces price differences over a period of time. So people who are not economists think about speculation as being extremely damaging for economies. That there are these professional people who sit in Zurich offices with a bank of phones going buy, sell, sell, buy, and all over the world economies are being destroyed by these people's behavior. In fact, what speculators do is they reduce price differences over time by buying when prices are low and selling when prices are high. Do they eliminate price differences entirely? No. We saw that in the context of arbitrage, there is some price differential because of transport costs. Well, there are transport costs over time. You have to buy, you have the costs of holding and storing the goods and selling later in the year. So the effect of speculation is to reduce price differences over time without eliminating them. So arbitrage and speculation are the same process, one taking place over distance, the other taking place over time. And you can look in markets and see the extent to which arbitrageurs and speculators cause price differences to be smaller. In some markets, transport costs are incredibly small, the market for shares. So you can buy a share in the north or in the south for pretty much the same price. There are no transport costs. It's simply the press of some electronic button. But in the market for housing, you can have huge differences in the price of a similar house just a few miles apart, because the costs of transporting a house from one part of the country to another is enormous. So arbitrage and speculation reduce price differences, they don't eliminate them. So the exercise has helped you with two things. One, feeling confident about the use of supply and demand curves. 2, understanding something about profit-motivated traders and the effect of these traders on market prices.